African Americans in this country are the only groups. They have no culture. It depends on who you meet, where you meet them.
But currently there's not an African American culture?
No.
Yes, there is.
What is it? Name 2 value systems in the African American culture.
Value system?
Yes. Name 2 taboos in the African American culture system. Name 2 traditions, by the way, in the African American culture system. There is no value for freedom if you don't understand what it is. The concept of free. You have to have a foundation on which it would balance when you ask for it. Civil rights, they give it to you. You have no culture. Nancy, you've been here, born here. Why would you be surprised if I say African Americans don't have a culture? What, twerking? So anything
but I feel like African American culture has definitely
you say
mainstream.
No, you say the word, the African American culture. What is it? Okay, fine.
Like hip hop, not hip hop.
Christ.
I mean, I don't want to. Yes, I feel like
you haven't thought about it. It's fine. Don't make things up.
I'm not making it up.
Okay,
then
educate me. You feel, you should know. You were born and raised here.
Yes, but I have a Haitian.
Are you African American?
I'm Haitian American.
That's correct. Do you see why you were being specific with that? Because anybody who encounters you already knows you before. If they know you are Haitian, at least 2 things comes to their mind.
What is that?
If they've been to Haiti, they can look at work ethics and they say, yes, Haitians, I know them. Service industry, they know where they do well. Food, they can say yes. And even language, Creole.
Right.
And they can say, oh, I love Haitians. Mm-hmm. Because they saw the culture in abstract before they encountered you. Mm-hmm. So people go over the bridge of your culture, your tradition, your customs, and that helps them to know how to
address it.
Exactly. I'm saying to you, any people who ask for these things, which are abstract, freedom, for example, independence, for example, and civil rights, for example, voting rights, for example, you must have a foundation on which these things are going to balance. Because the people there have to uniformly agree with consensus. This is our way of life. The do's and the don'ts involved in our culture. Even if you have to create an artificial culture.
Is that why the civil rights movement is considered dead?
It's dead and useless. They got it, but they could not balance it on any foundation.
When some African immigrants say that Black Americans have no culture, it reveals a deep misunderstanding about history, and a Black American culture is resilience and setting standards all over the world. They underwent 400 years of oppression, and still they were able to rise above without being able to read or even write. They have fought for civil rights laws that made America livable for all immigrants in America. So I think it's good to give them their flowers and educate ourselves on Black American history. So that's why I do this kind of content, to educate people about each other's history. Let's listen to another African here who doesn't have any understanding about Black American history. And it is very sad.
America, right? But what is a culture? Bro, let me educate you. Every culture starts from a language, a tribe. Every tribe have a language. What is it? Apart from English, what other language do Americans speak? The Black Americans. The Mexicans in America speak Spanish. They have something they speak outside English. The Asians, the Chinese, everybody speak their language outside English. What do you speak? What is the trace of your culture you're talking about? What is the American culture? I want to know, what is the Black American culture? I keep hearing this culture. Bro, the Black Americans, the culture, maybe baby mama culture. You know, baby, single women having 3 kids. That's probably their culture. Or the numbers of the highest incarcerated Black young men in America. That's their culture. I don't know. Is it the pimping culture? The gang banging culture? Is that the culture? Bro, the Black American culture is about wearing, let's say, wearing the Nikes, wearing just, they want to be on the trend game, you know? These are the culture. But I don't know why they want the Black Americans feel like they should be the center of Black people around the world, or they should be the face of Black people around the world. Why? Bro, you can have your see, you don't even have to declare yourself that you are not African, you are not African American. Bro, nobody give a flying damn about what you think about yourself. That's your own opinion and your own mentality, your own narrative of everything, how you are. That nobody cares. But bringing all your facts about Africa, bro, I don't get it. You talk about culture every time. What is the culture? I want to know. Genuinely, I'm asking. The hip hop. You want to say the hip hop? the music is your culture. I don't get it. Eminem is not black, but he do more hip hop probably than the black Americans. I don't get the culture you're talking about. Or maybe because you guys dominate the basketball, the sports game in America, you guys dominate. Is that a culture? Sport is not culture, bro. Let me educate you. You don't have any language you speak outside English. You don't have a tribe. Culture has traces. You don't have any culture. But you always say culture. Bro, you don't have culture. Your culture is about dressing, looking nice, and wearing Nikes. They will tell you that they have the Nike. Bro, Nike is owned by a white man. I want to educate you on that too. The Nike is owned by a white man. They will tell you, hey, Michael Jordan.
On behalf of the entire continent, on behalf of every single African, on behalf of the entire African community, we want to apologize to our brothers and sisters, the African Americans. We want to apologize on this behalf. This does not represent the African view about African Americans. Just like there are some people who are misinformed and miseducated within the African American community, that is exactly how we also have the misinformed and the miseducated within the African communities. This represents that aspect. This does not in any way have to do with the views of Africans towards African Americans. We don't know what he's talking about. We don't know from which angle he's speaking, whether from the place of hate or from the place of jealousy. We do not know. But I must tell you guys, this does not represent the African views towards African Americans. We have our differences that we know. Within our differences, we know that there is always a solution for us to reach a compromise so that we all can get along as black people. So this young man's view does not represent the entire population's view towards African Americans. Thank you for watching. God bless.
One piece of propaganda that I refuse to fall for, and a hill that I will simultaneously die on, is that if African American people do not have culture, as a lot of people like to say, why is it that the world borrows from what we have created, but nobody wants to say where it came from? I remember a few months ago, somebody was talking about Japanese R&B. It's some shit that, is like really popping right now. So I go and listen to it. That shit sounds like In Vogue. That shit sounds like SWV. That shit sounds like early 2000s, late 90s fucking love-making R&B type shit. Same vibe, same tempo, same everything. You look at the way Billie Eilish is fucking dressing right now. She dressed like all the New York motherfuckers dressed back in the 90s, and how damn near everybody in America who was black at one point in time dressed it in the early 2000s. You listen to the way other countries approach rap music. You listen to the way other cultures approach trap music. You listen to all of the vibes and everything. Black people came up with that shit from here. From the foods that we make, from the dances we create, from the vibes that we initiate. Black folk in America have created some of the best things that this world has ever fucking known. And I will not sit here and let people from other countries be like, oh, black people in America don't have no culture. Shut the fuck up. I'm not one of these folks that's going to go back and forth about all the diaspora. I don't give a fuck about none of that. My thing is this. For people to come online and say black people in America don't have any culture, whenever we make something, it's always viewed as lame. It's always viewed as aggressive. It's always viewed as something negative. You let 10 years go by. Now other motherfuckers are doing it and it's all of a sudden cool. And we just came up with that shit. No, bitch. We made that shit. We made that shit cool, and when we was liking that shit, everybody was like, no, that's some bullshit. But now that y'all on it, it's the next new thing. Shut the fuck up.
I watched the viral clip of that bald-headed African dude that was talking to that Haitian lady on his podcast about how Black Americans, we're the only people that don't have a culture, that don't have any value systems, any traditions, any taboos, blah, blah, blah. And I've watched some different takes on this, but I have a little bit of a different take because listening to that clip made me realize something about the way that Africans view culture and traditions when it comes to Black people. So the reason why Africans say stuff like Black Americans don't have culture, we don't know who we are, we don't know where we come from, is because our culture in America doesn't center Africa. So what I mean by that is, if you look at like the Caribbean and South America, a lot of their culture and traditions mimic cultures or mimic the things that are done culturally in Africa, in different parts of Africa. So they've taken a lot of that African tradition and incorporated it into their cultures down in the Caribbean and in South America. So that's why they're not going to tell them that they don't know who they are, they don't know where they came from, you know, they're lost. They're not going to say that to them because their culture, a lot of their culture resembles that different cultures in Africa. Whereas in America, as Black Americans, most of our culture, especially not mainstream culture, does not resemble anything African. Our culture does not center Africa. I don't think that Africans can really wrap their head around the idea of a group of Black people who just came up, who came up with their own culture that's based off of their own experience and that has absolutely nothing to do with anywhere on the continent of Africa. So in their eyes, it's like, you guys must be lost because you don't center Africa in your culture. You don't center Africa in the things that you do. Nothing that you do resembles African, anything in Africa. You don't resemble. We can't draw any parallels between what you guys are doing in America into Africa. I mean, even if we're just talking about lifestyles, like when you look at Haiti and Nigeria, you're not going to really see too much difference between a city in Haiti and a city in Nigeria. It's still full of scrap metal housing made out of shipping containers. There's extreme poverty in both of those areas, and they really kind of mirror each other in a lot of ways. And even in Jamaica, like certain parts of Jamaica could look similar to somewhere in Ghana or somewhere. So I feel like they have more of like that connection. Like, so I really feel like Africans look at Caribbeans and they see a lot of themselves in the lifestyles of the people there, but they don't see the reflection of themselves in us. And I think that they look at that as like somehow we are lost or we don't have any pride, or because we don't feel connected to Africa. So if we're Black and we don't feel connected to Africa, that means that there's something wrong with us, and that means that we're lost. You know, they say that Black Americans have main character syndrome and we're self-centered, but yet the way that they view culture and the reason why they tell us that we don't know who we are, we don't have a culture, or we don't have traditions, or we don't, we're just lost, is because our culture doesn't resemble theirs. Our culture doesn't center Africa, but somehow we're the main character.
Women having the conversation with him didn't have the bandwidth or capacity to speak on these topics. With regards to Haiti, to say that no Africans from the continent who were sold into slavery or captured understood how a society functioned is a lie. And you being African makes me question your capacity to hold this conversation without white supremacy spearheading your arguments. Overwhelmingly, the slave trade began with Europeans and royal courts of the Oyo, Benin, Yoruba, Congo, Ashanti empires, which were all thriving, functioning, civilized empires. So the idea that Europeans somehow were the ones to be civilized confuses me even more, because once again, you're African. And it's like, do you know your own history before you're here preaching about those of us in the Americas? Haiti fought for its freedom because we did not want to be slaves. So your solution was Haiti to stay in subjugation and slavery with France? It's concerning to me that your talking points make Africans appear to be less than under the guise of we're all different. Your arguments aren't taking into account the West couldn't allow Haiti to thrive because the rest of the region were still colonies operating slavery. There was and is a concerted effort to cripple Haiti, and they've done just that. People discuss Haiti without knowing the actual facts pertaining to Haiti's independence, Haiti's history, and Haiti's continued subjugation under the West. It's very evident because from Haiti having to pay France for its independence, take out loans to pay France for its independence, then sell crops to France at a 50% discounted rate, then be occupied by America, then have the rest of the colonies not trade with Haiti because Haiti helped other people get independent, then have its resources still taken. Haiti has existed under a neo-colonization crippled with mass corruption and a extreme minority of people holding the wealth of the country post-colonization. It's ripe for disaster, which it has been. And as someone who has lived in Haiti, I know firsthand how all of these different elements impact where the country is today. Are there internal issues at play here with the governance of Haiti? Absolutely. But don't make it seem like white equals good and black equals bad. You then say that no African country has an international language. Your emphasis on European languages that have been pushed into the world by colonization lets me know you are a pro-colonizer. Like, it's like you inherently view black people and Africans as less than, but you're putting all the weight of civilization advancement and modernization on Europeans. And once again, you're African. So I'm fucking confused as to what we're talking about here. International languages are a product of colonialism, and the value you're putting on French, Spanish, and English as if the world doesn't speak English due to the American and British empires and colonialism is insane to me. The Japanese aren't native English speakers. Also, I personally have spoken Creole in over 4 countries, and several nations can communicate solely in Creole. So what is your definition of international language? There's so many dangerous and misinformed tropes this man puts forward about both groups. And if there's one thing I hate, like I said, is people who make claims and leave out the history and geopolitics that are required to understand the talking points that we are currently discussing. Are there absolute problems with Haiti? Yes. Is there a problem with governance in Haiti since the last century? Absolutely. Is there some problems with some aspects of Black Americans feeling like they're oppressed, so they stay oppressed? Maybe. We can dive into those concepts, and you can provide a well thought out thesis or provide to me your point of view. But if you're doing so from a flawed place to begin with, I can't respect anything you say. Black Americans have no culture, Haitians don't speak a language, and Haitians are failing because Africans never knew or saw governance. Those 3 points are completely wrong.
Every time I hear somebody say that Black Americans have no culture, I think
you're the reason why people keep on asking this question, because you don't even know how to answer this question. When asked, what is Black American culture? You need to actually show Black American culture, like they do in Louisiana, for example. They have actual Black American culture. But you're coming out here showing a plate of food and some dude with a radio. What does that have to do with anything? Let's go with the plate. On your plate, you have collard greens. Africans also have collard greens. It is cooked the exact same way. In Congo, for example, we call it ndunda. Same thing. And on top of that, you have the audacity to show mac and cheese. Mac and cheese. 2 of the most European creations ever. I remember one time I saw a guy who said, oh, mac and cheese is in Black American creation. Listen. Y'all need to be serious. Okay, when you start talking about things like this, you need to be serious. This is why people look at you funny, because you're saying things that don't make sense. A guy said mac and cheese is a Black American creation. He said some dude named Heming. I think Heming created it. No, he did not create it. Maybe he helped popularize it. I don't know, but he did not create it. Mac and cheese. Listen. Cheese is probably one of the most French things that you will find out here. Cheese. And don't even get me started on mac. That's literally short for macaroni. That's an Italian word, okay? So how come a French thing and an Italian thing is part of your culture? This is the reason why people keep on asking y'all these stupid questions, because you don't even know how to answer it. Answer the question properly and people will leave it alone. I don't even see the reason to talk about the other thing, because that's just a black man with a radio. I understand what it symbolizes. It's hip hop. I get it. But that man is wearing a Kango. Okay. That's literally a company owned by a white man.
Black Americans have no culture, but our global impact is so large and expansive that AAVE is essentially everywhere. I don't know where I come from, but I could trace back 5-6 generations of my family that were all born in the United States of America. My ancestors built a whole country and created new traditions and dishes and ways of life out of necessity. And our creativeness is why we have the biggest global impact of any other group of people in the world. It's really sad to see the lack of empathy and understanding. And instead of having like an open dialogue around these topics, you're just making like a really wrong and ignorant statement about what Black Americans are not. And instead, because you could have had celebration and pride for the Black American people. This is the same person who made the two of their biggest hits by sampling Black American women. But we don't have culture. We don't know what's going on. We don't know where we're from. And it's the same of a Black British female actor, singer, entertainer who stays all up and through booking herself in Black American roles that has the same mindset of thinking that, oh, those poor Black Americans, they don't know where they're from. Get out then. How about go back across the pond? And it's just ignorance and a lack of like exposure and education, because if they would take 2 seconds to really get to the root of why they think about it this way and why they're unable to have empathy and understanding of our very unique experience, like they just want to continue to project onto us and make it our fault for the things that have happened to us instead of thinking about the oppressor. Make it make sense. Like, are we learning anything?
So I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about Caribbean cultures, and Black American culture came up, and he was talking about how, Black Americans don't have a culture. And I said, no, Black Americans definitely have a culture, especially me dating and being in love with a Black American, and being able to go back home to North Carolina with him and getting to meet his family and getting to see like all the things that they do have as far as like traditions, foods that they like to eat, what time of year they do different things. They do have a culture. And I had an epiphany when he was saying that, but I didn't get to say it in the moment because the conversation was going so fast. But I had this epiphany that as a Canadian-born Haitian woman living in America, everything I'm able to do is because I'm living within Black American culture. When I think about my career and all the big things that I've done, Black Americans have been tied to that. My first big network job was at BET, and that was because of a Black American woman by the name of Tanya Hoffler, who's been in the business for years. She saw something in me and she gave me that opportunity. And mind you, she gave it to me at a time where people in my community were telling me how I wasn't gonna be anything and I ain't shit and I'm a nobody. And they were doing all this because I had asked the DJ to stop tagging me in promotional flyers for parties that he did not want to pay me to attend. And their response to me was, you're nobody. Meanwhile, a Black American gave me a job at a major network. I have a job with Hulu right now, and that came from Black Americans. I had a podcast for rap shit called Chat Shit, and that was on HBO. And you know why I was able to do the Chat Shit podcast on HBO? It was because of Issa Rae. That was her show, Issa Rae, Black American. I have been able to thrive because Black American culture exists. And I think that a lot of us that are, Haitian or Jamaican or Nigerian or whatever, African, or even those of us who are Afro-Latino, or even those of us who are not Black, who get to profit off of Black culture more than actual Blacks get to profit. You really have to give Black Americans their flowers, because a lot of us would not be able to thrive the way we do in America if it wasn't for Black American culture. We literally live off of Black American culture while we live within it. I'm literally a Canadian-born Haitian woman living in America, and I get to pay my bills off of my personality, off of the things that I say, and that is because of Black American culture. Within the Haitian culture, the things that I say is very not accepted. You know what I mean? And me being able to be bold and confident and say the things I want to say and say what I really want to say, when I want to say it, how I want to say it, that is because of the Black American culture. And I will always be thankful for that. And I think that those of us who are not Black American, But living here, especially those of us who are living here, we have to honor Black Americans. This is their fucking land. This land is their land, and we're on their land. We are on their shit. So give them their fucking flowers.
Let me say this real quick. When you come on my account and you try to disrespect African Americans, you have to come correct. Y'all love saying that we have no culture and we don't know anything. To say that African Americans have no culture shows how little you have, and it shows how poorly you've been educated on African American culture. Because it is literally our culture that is responsible for the fact that people from other places around the world can migrate to this country. It was our culture that was on display this year at the Met Gala. Where do you think Black dandyism comes from? Not your culture. And you know what's funny? Do you think that anyone who doesn't like Black people cares that you're not African American? Baby, you could be one of my cousins. It don't matter, girl. Y'all have all this smoke and animosity. How about this? How about you don't interact with African Americans? Y'all can just leave us alone. Like, for instance, you didn't have to interact with my video. Why do you need me to know that you don't like African Americans? Okay. What are you supposed to do with that information? And then it's a whole thing of, oh, well, this is a reason why people hate you. Y'all need to do this. How about this? How about y'all work on your own internalized hatred? What's funny is that African Americans don't think about other cultures and ponder about how much we hate y'all. We literally don't do that. But y'all run any chance you get to go and try to hate on us. And the only thing y'all can say is, y'all don't even have culture. No, you don't have a proper education. Because anyone who has a proper education on African Americans would never say that. And here's the thing. If you have culture, is this what you're displaying right now? Your people's culture? Hate? Damn. No music, no food?
You see, culture isn't just about language or even clothing. Culture is resilience, and Black Americans have perfected it. And their culture did not begin with comfort. They were forged in chains, plantations, segregation, and systemic exclusion. They were stripped of their language, tribe, homeland, and even legal identity. For 400 years, they were denied the right to read, to write, to own land, to vote, or even to be recognized as fully human. And yet from all those conditions, they were able to build a cultural force so powerful that the entire world consumes it, often without acknowledgement. So let's be clear. The freedoms many enjoy in America today, they were paid for with Black Americans' blood, labor, and even courage. So you see, things like the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, they were won through marches, jail time, and assassinations, and even death. So when immigrants come to America and enjoy the right to protest, to organize, and the right to employment, they are standing on the ground of Black Americans that they bled for. So let's talk about culture. Black Americans, they have invented jazz, blues, R&B and souls, rock and roll, hip-hop, now the most dominant global culture on earth. So from New York to Nairobi, from Tokyo to Paris, hip-hop alone has shaped language, fashion, politics, identity, and youth movements worldwide. The Harlem Renaissance redefined literature, poetry, art, and fashion, all at a time when Black Americans were still legally second-class citizens. So Black American fashion, from the streetwear to luxury influence, drives global trends. Their slang has become a global English, and their activism reshapes a global human rights language. So if you enjoy from Black Americans' freedom, if you benefit from civil rights protections, if you listen to modern music, and you wear modern fashion, and you speak the language of global pop culture, you are already participating in Black American culture, and it is good to give them their flowers. So thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.